don't care what you're doing to me. I've been down in the ruins so deep. All the games that you played, all the love you forsaken, you let it slip away. You don't care what you're doing to me. Every setback, every mishap, every time you say you gon' change. Say you get it, you regret it, I forgive it, but you stay the same. You should cry an ocean for me, for the dumb shit and the damage you've done. Cause I've been crying oceans for weeks. Tried to fight it, but I'm drowning alone. Sister, save me now. Save me now. Whoa. Sister, save me now. Save me now. Whoa. Shed a tear for me, baby, if you dare. Maybe then it would show me that you care.
Hey y'all, good morning. Is it still morning, y'all? Yeah, it's 11:43, so morning, afternoon. I guess this is what people will call brunch. So good morning, afternoon, however you want to put it. I tried to find a suitable name for that, but it just slipped my mind. But anyway, guys, I wanted to come to you guys today to talk about some of my book recommendations. I just wanted to give you guys a couple of book recommendations that I have read, and I would just like to recommend those books to you because I like those books. And y'all remember, we all like different things. We might like the same genre, but we might not like the same books in that genre. So whenever I do these vlogs, y'all, always just remember these are just my recommendations and my thoughts. So we'll just take it as that, and we will have, even if we have to like have a little bookish conversation on why you don't like that book or why, you know, I feel like I like that book, that kind of jazz. But we always gonna keep it clean, right? We've been keeping it clean so far, and we've just been having a very nice time talking about books, reading books, sharing books. And y'all, I so thank y'all. I have actually been writing down some of the book recommendations that I see either in my comments on my YouTube page or when you guys message me and want to talk about books and things of that nature. So I really appreciate that. I've been having such a good time being able to go to the bookstore and find the books that you guys have recommended to me. And I gotta say, some of those books are like awesome, and some of those books are just not for me. But remember, I said everything for me is not for me, everything for you is not for you. But I really do appreciate that type of conversation and interaction that I get from my book community. And guys, remember, if you're not subscribed to my channel, I suggest you subscribe to my channel because we're here every Wednesday and Sunday. And on this channel, we talk all about books. And I always like to do this on some of my vlogs just to introduce myself to my new followers, my new lookers. My name is Yolanda. I am Yolanda's Journaling. On this channel, I like to read books. I like to recommend books. I like to go to bookstores. I like to get y'all feedback, y'all conversation about books. And as y'all see, I just like stinking books. My favorite genre is like contemporary romance and like thriller books. And what I mean by that, like thriller books like Cheryl Lapina, Frida McFadden, and then like contemporary romance, like it's just so many that I can pick from. Like a new one that I'm trying to get into, Danielle Allen, Brittany Cherry, Abby Jimenez. Like I like those type of books that are written by those authors. Do I have a favorite author? At this present moment, my top authors for romance would be Brittany Cherry and Natasha Bishop. Natasha Bishop, I don't see a lot of her books like all over YouTube, all over Book Talk, but Shaughnessy, and y'all hear me talk about her all the time because she is such a big book girly, and she just gives so many great recommendations, and she just reads and finds so many great books. I love looking at her channel because she just is such a book girly. I don't see a lot of her books in the bookstores. I see a lot of her books or some of her books on Amazon. So check her out, Natasha Bishop. And again, Brittany Cherry, she's everywhere. I like her books. I just like the way she writes her books. I like the conversations in her books. I like the dialogue in her books. I like that her books are very easy to follow. And y'all, don't forget my girl Kennedy Ryan. I really like listening and looking and reading her books. Her books are just, some of her books are just so real life that you can like, how would I say it? It will bring back memories. It will bring back those triggers. And y'all remember, almost at the beginning of every Kennedy Ryan book, almost, there are trigger warnings, and she does tell you those trigger warnings in those books. But her books are hella good, and sometimes you might feel like you've been hit by a train, or it might bring back memories, good memories, bad memories. But overall, I just like the way her books are written. I like how detailed she is. I like how vivid she is with her writing. Like when I read her books, it's like I can feel every part of whatever part of the book that really speaks to me. And that just makes it also easy to read her books and also easy to look for her books in the bookstore. As far as thrillers, like I said, Frida McFadden. Y'all, I have not read a book by Frida McFadden yet that I do not like. Frida McFadden catches your attention at the very beginning of every book that I have read about her. The synopsis on the back of her books really does a good job at heading you in the right direction on what that plot twist is about that book, but you have to get to the end of her books to know. And that is what really tips my hat with Frida McFadden, because she can have like 4 or 5, 2 or 3 characters in the book, and you would think it's character 1 and 2, and then toward the end of the book you would think it's character 3, and then at the very end of the book it might be character 3 and 1. Like, that just really makes me want to read her books. Like, I love reading Frida McFadden books. Cheryl Lapina, I just got into like reading her books. I read one of her books on my June anticipated reads list, however you want to put it. And it is called Everyone Here Is Lying. So I did read that book. I enjoyed that book. So I do have more, I think, of Cheryl Lapina's books on my shelf. So I'm looking forward to being able to read more of her books. But I rambled off, I'm sorry, but those are the type of books that I like for my new viewers. And again, every Wednesday, Sunday, we're here, we're having fun, we're talking about books. And there's a subscription button down there. If you click it, it'll take you to some notification bells. If you click those bells, make sure you click all, because it will let you know whenever I put anything on YouTube as far as shorts, communication, community, I'm sorry, and like my vlogs. So hope you will join my group. If not, just keep watching, keep liking, keep sharing, and I do appreciate that as well. So again, we are here because I want to give you guys a few of my top book recommendations so far for the year. All right, guys, so this is my TBR slash everything cart. And the reason why I say that is because, like, when I do my videos, sometimes, like with my recommendations and stuff, I will have the books that I want to talk to you guys about on this cart. but it's pretty much like my TBR cart, so that I can keep up with what books I say I want to read during that month, or just books that I have on my radar that I would like to read for the month or the season, or for, you know, like whatever, just books that I would like to read. So up here are the books that I would like to share with you guys as far as some great book recommendations. Alright friends, so let's get started. The first book that I would like to recommend to you guys is a Rebecca Yarros book. It's called The Things We Leave Unfinished. This book was recommended to me to read by a coworker. Even though I had this book on my shelf, I had never read anything by this author but The Fourth Wing, or Fourth Wing. I don't know why I want to put the in front of it all the time. But when I read this book, it really kind of brought me to tears after, or toward the end of the book. So it is written in the World War II era, century, and it is just pretty much about a lady named Georgia who was kind of confused about the letters that her great-grandmother Scarlett had written, and she just really wanted to be much better than her great-grandmother Scarlett. So she ended up marrying this guy. I think his name was Noah. They had a kid, and he was sent off to serve as a pilot in the war, and then all the things happened after that. If you read the book, you will see what I mean by the things. If I say too much, I feel like I would be spoiling this book, but I did enjoy The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. Okay friends, moving right along. The next one is The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pickenden. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right or last name right, but I really enjoyed this book. It was just pretty much about a lady who was getting divorced from her husband, and throughout the book as it goes along, it is actually the divorced lady that was telling the story. She was telling it to me like in past and present tense. And throughout the book you find out, well, in the beginning of the book, like, she was like very upset because the guy was about to get married. So with me, I'm thinking, you know, it was because she just loved the guy. She don't want the guy to get married. But as I read the book, I noticed that there are a lot of things that happened to her during their marriage that were not good, and she did not want the lady, the other lady, which I think her name was, what was her name? I forget what her name is, but she didn't want her to go through the same things that she did with this guy, because obviously the wife-to-be did not know this man. So this book kept my attention. I always wanted to know what happened to her in the next chapter, and even though it was read and written by her, it still was like very enjoyable to read, and I think I read this one in like a couple of days. All right, y'all, we're gonna move right along. The next set of books is a series, and I do not have all the books to the series, which I think I am going to actually buy all the books to this series, because I actually ended up liking this series more than I thought I would. It is a fantasy, so that's why I was like, I'm not buying all the books to this series because I'm not really that big of a fantasy girl. But when I read the Aatar series, the Court of Thorns and Roses, I was ecstatic on how much I loved this series. I do not have book 4 and 5. I read book 4 on my Kindle, and book 5 I had a library book, so I did not get all the books to this series, but I will pick them up just so that I can keep them on my shelves, and if somebody would like to read them, I will let them borrow these books. But Sarah J Maas, she really outdid herself with this series, and it's so many books in this series. Like, I really can't like break down what happens in all of these books. Just know that these books are great. So I would recommend you guys to read the Aatar series, the A Court of Thorns and Roses. So we got another Rebecca Yarros book. It is Fourth Wing. I read this book some time ago. I actually had a hard time getting through it at first until I got the audio to go with this book. And once I got the audio to go with this book, I ended up loving this book. This was the first book that I read by Rebecca Yarros, and it was just a good book. I did not think that I would like it at first, but I just really loved the cover, and everybody was giving it so much hype, so I decided to pick it up. And when I actually got down into the book and noticed how what is her name, y'all, I hate digging for names when I'm talking to you guys. Violet, she was a 21-year-old, and she was supposed to be a certain rank in the fantasy dragon type world in this book, according to her mom. And so she went through the training of doing, you know, what she was supposed to do to become in that rank. And she ended up seeing her childhood friend again, who I think she was like in love with at one point during her childhood. And you would have thought that that would have been the person, like, during that time that she was there, that she would be clinging to. But she actually did not. She actually clung to the person that is supposed to be her enemy, and that they thought that would actually kill her. So she went through all the training. She became excellent at what she is supposed to be doing. She got her powers. She was learning how to use them. And then all at the same time, she was falling in love with Exodon. I think that was his name was. But in the book, you would think that because of their history that he was not going to fall in love with her as well. Like, he was just, you know, leading her in to destroy her at the end. But I did really enjoy Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Okay, so the next book is a book that I just recently read, and I will have a vlog on this book coming up soon. It's The Mixtape by Brittany Cherry. This was actually the first book that I also read by Brittany Cherry, even though I have a ton of them on my shelves. I was recommended this book by a booktuber, Shaughnessy, and I enjoyed this book. Brittany Cherry really did her thing with this book. It was just pretty much about a singer who lost his brother, and once he lost his brother, he like went into a state of his life that he just didn't care. He liked to get drunk all the time, and he just felt lost. And then there was this girl named Emery. She was, you know, struggling at all the life things that happens in people's lives. She had a kid who, do you think that was her kid? You'll have to read the book in order to find out. But she was struggling with paying the rent and just all the things of a struggling single parent. She actually saved him from something that happened at the bar that she works at, and she gave him a ride home. And then everything just started to blossom from there once Oliver found out all the little things that Emery was going through, and everything just started blossoming at that point. So I feel like this book is a second chance at romance. And what else could it be? A second chance at romance, and possibly like a true love trope. So I really did enjoy The Mixtape by Brittany Cherry. Okay, so Honey and Spice by Babaloa. I just love saying that name because I always know I'm saying it wrong. But this one right here was a reread for me. And when I first read this book, y'all, it was a library book. And like I was in a hurry to try to read it because like, you know, you can only renew the books for like a certain amount of times. And then you'll have to like turn it back in. And if somebody's waiting for it, you cannot, you know, get it again until it's available. And I don't know if it's on Kindle Unlimited, but I just wanted the physical copy to read. So I ended up picking this book up from Walmart and gave it a reread. And once I actually took my time out, listened and read this book, I really enjoyed Honey and Spice. It's pretty much a YA book, and it's just about true love to me, or second chance at love, but pretty much like true love. Kiki Banjo, she was a college student. She had a podcast, and I'm not sure if like she had bad experience with the man or whatever, but her podcast was just pretty much about, you know, warning the women about how men are, certain men and things of that nature. And this guy that she was with, what was his name? Okay, but anyway, the other guy that she was actually with, and then y'all, this is also like a fake dating, a fake relationship, a fake dating trope as well. But she was actually with this guy. I guess she really didn't want to be with that guy anymore. So Malachi, the guy that she was trying to tell her podcast listeners to watch out for, stay away from, because he's this and he's that, and he's not really good for a relationship. She ended up fake dating him just to get the other guy off of her back. And then all through that time, she started figuring out things about Malachi that she actually liked. And I think she started actually liking him. And then the other guy that she was dating and, you know, was like kind of big at the college that she was at, she found out a lot of things about him that was very, very bad. And Malachi actually helped her through that. And they actually, you know, like, started to be more than friends. So I really did enjoy Honey and Spice. I was glad I actually reread this book and actually paid for this book from Walmart so that I could take my time and enjoy this book, Honey and Spice by Babaloa. I have had the Dreamland Billionaire series on my shelf for a little bit. I have read the first book in that series. I have the other two on my shelf, and I will do a couple of videos throughout the year and everything of finishing up series, because I have so many series on my shelf that I really need to finish and really need to start, so that I can either keep them on my library bookshelf for people to check out and read and return, or give them, you know, just to somebody who I feel like will enjoy the series, and so that I can make room on my shelves for some more books. But I did read The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. I really enjoyed this book. This one was about Rowan and Zahara. And Rowan, his grandfather died, and his stipulations for and it's more than just Rowan, it's like about some brothers. But for Rowan, his stipulations was for him to, I think, redesign Disney World. And in order for him to do that, he had to start back with his drawing and things of that nature. And his grandfather had also wrote a letter to Zahara, because he knew of the ideas and just how good she was at the work that she does, even if it wasn't actually what he thought that she should be doing within the company. So with that being said, they actually had to combine together in order to get his part of the stipulations of the will done. And during that time, love starts to hit, and we'll just all the things. So I really did enjoy The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. Alright guys, moving right along. The next two books are by the same author. And yes, it's my girl, Freedom McFadden. Never lie. Y'all, I loved this book. I want to say, was Never Lie the first book that I ever read by Freedom McFadden? No, I think The Housemaid was the first book that I ever read by Freedom McFadden. I think this was actually the second book that I read by Freedom McFadden, and it did not fail me. Never Lie. It's just pretty much about a newlywed couple who was invested in buying their dream home. They actually went to this place to look at this house. They got caught in, all right guys, sorry about that. They got caught in a snowstorm pretty much. So they had to end up staying at this house. And during the time that they were staying at this house, Trisha, she seemed or acted as though like she was just so afraid to stay at this house. She has, you know, seen so much going on. She just knows somebody's there, this, that, and the other. And then she actually finds the room where the doctor, Andrina Hall, was talking to her patients and everything. She found tapes of the people that she was talking to. She started listening to them. She started acting like she was just seeing and hearing so many different things. And the end of this book will just blow your stinking mind. So I really did enjoy Never Lie by Freedom McFadden. And the next book that I read by her immediately once it came out was The Teacher by Freedom McFadden. I so enjoyed this book. And the end of this book, I was like, that dirty bastard. I was like, oh my God. Oh, y'all. But anyway, this is just pretty much about Eve. She was a high school student. She had some other things that happened to her the last school year or something like that with a teacher, which people really kind of like seeing her in a different light because of it, even if they did or did not know the whole story. She ended up having a thing with another teacher, and the wife of that teacher, she was pretty into like what Eve had going on, how Eve was acting and things of that nature. She found out some things about her husband. So things started happening to him, Eve, and Addie. And then the book just starts to twist and turn, and things just start to come together from there. So this one right here, I feel like can have trigger warnings in it because of the nature of a teacher and a student. But if you can get past that, the plot twist, the twists and turns, the things that happen, the things people got away with, the things that, you know, people were saying about people that was not true and things of that nature, y'all will love The Teacher by Freedom McFadden. These last two books are by the same author as well, and it's a Angie Thomas book. One is called Concrete Rose. The other one is called The Hate You Give. Concrete Rose, I want to say, is this the very first book? I think. But anyway, I really did like these two books because for me, it's pretty much like history of what colored people or people of color, black people, however you want to put it, have went throughout their life as the centuries change, as the world changes. And this one, if I can remember correctly, is pretty much about Maverick, which is like a main character in the second book, The Hate You Give. He's a teenager in this book, and of course he is on the street selling drugs and things of that nature. A typical 17-year-old with selling drugs, getting women pregnant, and just actually becoming a man. So that's pretty much kind of what this book is about. It's about Maverick going through all the 17-year-old life troubles and everything as being a black teenager in the area that he lived at. His father was in prison, so he really didn't have any male influence. He only had his mom, and pretty much it was just about him growing up. So I really did like Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. And the next one that I read is The Hate You Give. When I was walking around my job with this book, because I was reading it, a lot of people were telling me that they had the movie to this book and that they really enjoyed the movie. I have not seen the movie yet, but I am excited to be able to watch the movie. But this one was good to me. It's just pretty much about a 16-year-old named Star, and she was in a poor black neighborhood. She actually had like a sense of fashion, like the fashion, like the things that she wore, the shoes that she had on and everything was like a fashion tip for her. Like she really was good, and she really was into fashion. But earlier in her 16 years of living, she had lost one of her good friends. I want to say her name was Tanya. Don't quote me on that though. By a fatal shooting. And then her best friend Malachi, he was at the hands of a police officer, and he was unarmed, and he was actually shot. So Star actually became the star witness of what happened to Malachi, because she was actually in the vehicle with him. She didn't want to be in the public eye of being a star witness because of the area that they lived in and the gangs that were going on. And so like kind of like behind closed doors, she was telling what she knew, what happened, this, that, and the other, and pretty much everybody just wanted justice for Khalil. So during that time, you know, of course, riots start happening and things of that nature. And it pretty much kind of reminded me of like a Rodney King, you know, that Rodney King incident. The, God, what was his name? The one that was saying that I can't breathe. Oh my God, his name just slipped my brain. I'll put his name down somewhere below, but that's pretty much what this book reminded me of. And like I said, y'all, it is growth in history for people of color. So yes, I did really enjoy this book. So guys, that is all the books that I would like to recommend you guys to read, or as of right now, according to the books that I actually really enjoy. So y'all can get those books, pick up those books, read those books on Kindle. You might or you might not like it. If you have a Goodreads, y'all can leave y'all Goodreads down in the comments. That way we can communicate through Goodreads, see what our reviews are, see what our stars are for the books that we have actually read. And y'all, I enjoyed talking about these books, and I enjoyed showing you guys these books, and I hope y'all have a beautiful Sunday. Until next time, remember, Wednesdays and Sundays, 9 a.m. Bye guys. I am on my fantasy kick, so I am currently reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. I've read book 1. Fairy and Tomlin, I'm liking their little relationship already in the first book. And Fairy, she